Alex assured of P5.9M in Aussie Open. Even an early tournament exit would still have Alexandra Alex Ela and her team cashing in at the Australian Open AO, where the Filipino Neto will make her main draw debut. Ela will secure 150,000 Australian dollars, or roughly P5.9 million prize money, for a first-round appearance at the first major of the year. Of course, the prize gets higher the deeper the round Ela reaches, with the peak coming at 4.15 million Australian dollars, or more than P165 million for the champion. Running from January 12th to February 1st, the Australian Open offers a record 111.5 million Australian dollar prize pool, or P4.4 billion. That is a 16% increase from last year's prize pool of 96.5 million Australian dollars, and the largest in tournament history. This 16% increase demonstrates our commitment to supporting tennis careers at every level. Tennis Australia CEO Craig Tiley said in a report by the AO website. From boosting qualifying prize money by 55% since 2023 to enhancing player benefits, we're ensuring professional tennis is sustainable for all competitors. Ela's build-up for her AO main draw debut began with the ASB Classic in Auckland, New Zealand. The 20-year-old competes at the doubles and singles divisions, getting past her opponents in the opening rounds of both categories. Ela and American partner Iva Jovic took down the American-Ukrainian tandem of Venus Williams and Elena Svitolina, 7-6, 7, 6-1, in the doubles side on Monday to reach the quarterfinals. The following day, Ela pulled the rug from under Croatian Donna Vekic, 4-6, 6-4, 6-4, to enter the round of 16 in the singles division. After the ASB Classic, which will end on January 11th, Ela will swing back to action for an exhibition at the Kooyong Classic in Melbourne from January 13th to 15th. The Melbourne sun rose without apology, spilling gold across the hard courts like a challenge rather than a greeting. For Alex, it was never just another morning. It was the sound of history humming beneath her footsteps, the echo of every sacrifice she had ever made vibrating through the soles of her shoes. By the time the announcement reached home, Alex assured of P5.9 million in the Australian Open. The figure had already become more than money. It was a symbol, a marker of arrival, proof that dreams born far from the grand arenas of the world could still find their way onto the brightest stages. Alex stood quietly near the baseline, racket resting against her leg, eyes scanning the stadium seats that would soon be filled with strangers chanting her name. She thought of early mornings when courts were empty except for her shadow, of hands blistered, of losses that tasted sharper than victories were sweet. The assurance of prize money did not soften those memories. Instead, it gave them meaning. Back home, the news traveled fast. In small barangays where radios buzzed with static and televisions flickered with borrowed electricity, people paused. Jeepney drivers smiled wider. Students whispered her name between classes. Somewhere, a young girl gripped a second-hand racket a little tighter, believing, perhaps for the first time, that she too could belong to a world that once felt impossibly distant. P5.9 million. To the casual observer, it was a number meant for headlines. To Alex, it was a quiet thank you to her parents who stood behind fences during junior tournaments, counting coins for transport instead of counting wins. It was gratitude to coaches who believed before the world paid attention. It was proof that choosing the harder road had not been foolish. Yet the court did not care about numbers. When the match began, the ball flew with merciless speed, indifferent to nationality, expectation, or financial guarantees. Every rally demanded presence. Every point tested belief. Alex moved with calm ferocity, feet gliding, eyes sharp, heart steady. She was not playing for the money now. That had already been secured. She was playing for something older and deeper, respect. Between games, sweat dripped onto the blue surface, tiny constellations forming beneath her. The crowd roared, but in her mind there was only rhythm, bounce, strike, recover. In those moments, she was no longer a headline. She was simply an athlete doing what she had trained her whole life to do. Winning or losing no longer defined her worth. That realization was the true prize. The assurance of P5.9 million carried weight. Yes, but it also carried responsibility. Alex knew that every step she took forward widened the path for others. She was no longer running alone. Behind her were countless young Filipinos who would measure their courage against her example. When the match ended, applause wrapped around her like warm air. She looked up briefly, acknowledging the crowd, then down at the court once more. She whispered a silent promise, to herself and to everyone watching from afar. This was only the beginning. The Australian Open had given her more than prize money. It had given her confirmation that she belonged, that her story mattered, and that the future, though still unwritten, was undeniably hers to chase. And somewhere, far beyond Melbourne, a nation stood a little taller, knowing that Alex had already won something greater than any check could ever buy.